What happens when three blokes, one nihilist, one Christian, one spiritual, discuss a topic? You're about to find out. Welcome to the chat about everything, where no topic is off limits, no opinion is sacred, and curiosity matters more than being right. We don't always agree, but and we don't claim to have all the answers, but we're willing to explore topics, questions for entertainment and informational purposes. No intention meant. Um, and today on the chat about everything, we're delving into the question of, is death the end? So if you enjoy real conversations, challenging ideas, and hearing different perspectives, then don't forget to subscribe and comment and share because that really helps us, and we really love to hear what you think. So, guys, is death the end, my brothers? Is death the end? Personally, I don't think so, and I'm happy to share why. But let's hear another voice for a second while I pour coffee.
Yeah, well, I think it's
No,
definitely
of course, I agree. Go on, John.
no, it's the end. The end's the end. I think it get. I remember years ago. I think I was either in the late teens or early 20s, something like that, and I was contemplating this question. And I asked my dad, who um, when I asked him who would you, dead or alive, who would you invite back for a dinner date? Jesus was his calling. But anyway, I said to him, "What do you think happens when you die?" He says, "Truthfully, yeah, we're worm food." And I was like, "Really? Is it that? God?" And that really sort of hit hit me quite hard. Actually, I was thinking, there's got to be more to life than just that. But in reality, yeah, I think he's right. I think that once you're dead, you're dead, and that's it. I don't think there's any coming back. Um,
Just worm food, that's it, is it?
yeah, really, I don't think. You've got if you look if you're logical about it and truthful, right? And if some and I've got to ask myself, is there any empirical evidence that anything happens when you die? And there is nothing. So, that's it.
Well, I disagree with that entirely. I think that question comes down to whether you believe you are actually this physical body. Like, you are basically saying that your body dies and that's the end. But obviously, to me, we have three components: the mind, spirit, and body, physical body. And when the body dies, I don't believe that kills the others. So,
Is there any
that
evidence to support that?
yeah, I think there's a lot of evidence.
What evidence is there?
Well, have you ever heard about people talking about near-death experiences? They all experience similar stuff. You've got people that can prophesize. Obviously, I'm
That's
a Christian.
I mean, you might call that evidence, but on a scale of 1 to 10, sort of, I mean, there's evidence I'm holding a phone in my hand here, right? And that's probably you can, that's a 10 out of 10 in my book. But evidence of there's life after death, if there's something more, I can't see. There is, there might be evidence, but it's on that scale, it'll be down to a
So
zero.
what's the empirical evidence that you've ever had a dream?
But had um brain waves, the measurement of brain waves, you've seen your brain. They've
So
studied
what would you rate that out of 10? Is it as high as holding the phone or?
um people the brain scanned when you sleep, and they can show you the activity in the brain during that time. So when you go in and out of consciousness, there's evidence to support that your brain was actively working, and you yourself can sort of um, say whether you recall any aspect of that unconscious.
Okay, so I could monitor that there's activity in your brain, and you could wake up and say, "I had the most amazing dream. It was so vivid."
Yeah.
But the empirical evidence might still be a 3 or a 4 or
Yeah,
even
I mean
lower.
that's tricky. But there are ways to measure brain activity, and if you're in and out of like an amazing dream, I would imagine that the measuring tool would probably pick that up as well.
Okay. Would
But
you
yeah,
say it's harder to prove?
Eh, only from the perspective that we haven't got we've not don't really have a great deal of knowledge on of the brain in itself. We're still learning about that, and the tech is out there that's being developed every day, um, that is helping people with their brains, and some of the issues that we have with it. But it's probably one of the last frontiers that science is probably is on the precipice of, really, that and the ocean. But the yeah, it's but I suppose all aspects of science are always evolving as well. So
That
yeah,
and the ocean, that's it. Isn't that limiting us a little bit?
It's not quite the only things. There's consciousness itself as well. We don't know what that is, and we haven't explored that fully, and we don't know, a lot about it. It's just interesting, isn't it? Because, your nihilist point of view has just gone straight to, what's the empirical evidence of life after death, and whether death is the end or not definitely depends on personal belief, like what you said, Henry. With those perspectives split across science, nihilism, spirituality, Christianity, biological cessation, when biologically when the body stops, the continuity of consciousness and whether that happens, whether that's part of the greater mind and the universe, spiritual afterlives, what happens to the transformation of the energy when there's death. None of this we know. We're all in the
yeah, we're
playground,
all
really,
agnostic.
aren't we?
We're agnostic from that perspective. There's no evidence to support it, and there's no evidence to say that it doesn't. So really, the
Well, well,
Well,
the scientific view kind of says there's a physical stop, and that shows when the brain and heart stop working, the body functions and ends. But and the scientific view says there's no proof of the of death not being the end, because without the physical measurements or proof or science, death is final and end of your personal life.
yeah,
Some studies that note, kind of brief brain activity and electrical bursts when dying and other things going on, but they sort of like the debate doesn't put that anywhere further than the body's final shutdown happening. But on a spiritual, philosophical level, most religions teach that the soul or spirit lives on in a new form, whether that be in heaven or reincarnation or going back to source or whatever, and energetically consciousness is not just a product of the brain, but it's a universal energy that lives throughout everything that changes form when it dies, or when we die, should I say, when our body, our meat
Alexa
suits
Scott.
cease to function, when it's gone. Yeah. But it's a shared mystery, isn't it? That we don't really quite know. Um, I think lots of faiths like Christianity, Judaism, Islam, they all point to physical death being an entry point to something else, an eternal spiritual realm, if you like, that exists beyond the presence of God or the world. I think from my perspective, I think it's a bit like you talk about dreams, and it was an interesting question. Henry, it's kind of like, what's your evidence that you've ever had a dream? What's your evidence that you're even living? What's your evidence that you are this person and this human being? Because from my perspective, it may be that when you die, you wake up from this earthly dream world or
That's
dream realm.
that's your, but that's not a perspective if you said maybe, then is it?
Well, I just called it a perspective. Is that wrong?
That you maybe do this. So that, okay, so that there's element of doubt there, isn't there? So
Well,
you
yeah, because none of us know.
But
okay.
that's just being intellectually honest because he's not sure.
Well,
Like that's
in that case, then to be honest, is the start and end is that we don't know.
Well, I did say that, John.
Yeah. So
And now you're
we
penalising me for
as to
saying something in grey.
yeah, but we can we can philosophize about whether you're reincarnated or you go to heaven or you don't or but I mean and that's just sort of um yeah
Well,
that's
let's do
that's
that because that's
speculation.
fun.
No evidence to support any of it at all. So really,
No, no, that's right. No, that's what I
if
said.
you were to put your life on the line and say, listen, I'm okay, um that and I'm absolutely sure that there's life after death, then people, there'd be no angst at all. You would have no angst in dying, would you really? Because you just move on to wherever it is that you're going.
I
but if
don't
you know
think.
it's the end as well, you could see it the same way because it's just the end of what
Well,
you know.
exactly, yeah.
So
Yeah, and I don't have any angst at all. I think that's it, really. You make the most of what we are here today because there's there's no evidence to support that there's a new a tomorrow, a life after death. So, make the most now.
So there is no evidence that there is a life after death,
Yeah,
right?
really.
Okay. All
So you
right.
can't invent. There isn't any evidence at all. So,
Well,
you've
okay.
got to make
No, I don't think that's quite right. I don't
what
think there
evidence
is
is there that there's
meant.
life after death?
Yeah. What I said earlier was that there is no scientific evidence,
No, I'm asking
but
you.
there is evidence.
No, all right. Where is there evidence? What's the evidence?
Plenty of evidence. There's scores of Abrahamic faiths like Christianity,
That's not
Judaism,
evidence.
Islam.
That's just philosophy. That's just
Hang
what
on. Can
people's.
I tell you what the evidence is
Yeah.
before you
Let's
decide
start with
whether it's
something
evidence?
concrete. What's your strongest bit of evidence that there's life after death? What's your strongest?
And I just want to clean something up a little bit here as well, because the fact that I don't know doesn't give me angst about dying because I actually believe it isn't the end. And that we transmute into something else. So I've got no, but what I do know is that being, living this human life is pretty fun and pretty special. And there's a lot of us have the feeling that we're called to do slightly better or more in life, and that's kind of great. So I've got no compunction and no angst about death, apart from the fact that I enjoy my human existence right now. But there is evidence,
What
and
is your strongest evidence?
I don't know that, John, because I am not the person that goes straight to empirical evidence or scientific evidence because to me there's
Okay.
more to
Can we
consider.
just recap on this one then? You say that there is evidence. When I
What
ask,
what are we recapping for, by the
yeah,
way?
because I'm a bit confused as to where we're going with it. Because you
Well, I don't know whether it will clear it up for you because this is
Well, let
quite
me let me recap. You said that there is evidence. I've asked you what is the strongest evidence, and you said I don't know.
uh, no, that's right. I don't know what my strongest evidence is, but you're saying you're hearing those words thinking I have no evidence. Is that right?
No, no, but yeah, what you're sure of your evidence,
I'm not that sure of it, but
and you
I'm
said
saying there is evidence.
right. There's evidence on a scale
Yeah,
of 1 to 10. Where would you
yeah.
put your evidence? 10 being that this it's obvious, it's complete.
Well,
It's,
well,
it's
going back,
as obvious
yeah,
as that coffee cup is in your hand. That's
yeah.
10, right?
No, 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 no. Sorry. I'm going to pull the rug here and say the evidence that this coffee cup is in my hand, or the evidence that you are sure that you're holding a phone, is not empirical, I'm afraid.
I'm just using that to equate to it.
Yeah, I know,
That cost
and it
in
can't
your
be
hand
done.
is a level of 10. That
It
there's
can't be done.
evidence. Yeah.
It can't be
Okay.
done. It can't be done because what is measuring or looking or seeing that? Well, we're using consciousness to be aware of something, but we're not sure what we're aware of because we're not sure what our consciousness is.
Right.
So therefore, none
So
of it
these
can
are the
be stripped
parameters
down
in
to
which I'm
facts.
working into. Is that there's a coffee cup on your table that you just poured coffee in. Okay. Okay.
I
If we
don't,
work on the parameters that is a 10 out of 10, right?
for you maybe, mate, but I'm
So
saying that
just
if
for the
we're
sake
living
of
in a dream
this
world,
question, right? Just for the sake of this question, the fact that you poured coffee into that coffee cup and you've got it in your hand now, right?
uh-huh,
That's a 10. And the fact that you're holding the Mona Lisa in the other hand, and that's a 0. Okay. Now,
I'll I'll
those are the
let you
parameters on
go
which
down
I
this
want
path.
you to answer this question.
Yeah.
Where What number would you give
Mm,
to life after death? If the
okay.
cup is 10 and the Mona Lisa is 0.
Okay.
If he answers that, can you ask her the dream one?
Yeah, well, let's just ask, where are you on that scale, Tim?
See,
Can you
I,
answer that question? Or is it too tricky for you?
it's too tricky for me.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
but based on what I what I see, feel, experience, and think of life, it's not. It's. There are shades of grey to some of these things
Well, that's why
because,
we've got a scale of 1 to 10.
right?
And
Okay.
Say a
it's not
So,
nine.
a 1 or it's not a 0 or a 10. You've
well,
got
let me tell you about the evidence that
100.
points to
Let's
it
put the
for
cup
me.
as 100 and the Mona Lisa as 0. There's a massive, there's your gradient. Or 1,000. Let's put the cup as 1,000 or 1,000,000. You choose your parameters, but if 1 to 10 is too tricky, then change your parameters. You come back with me as to how I might understand that from if with using that sort of parameter.
Yeah. So it's not my job to help you understand the fact that you're confused about
I'm not
whether or not
confused.
there's.
Not in the slightest.
You
No,
said you were confused earlier.
no. I'm confused with you, not confused with the a parameter in which we can measure it.
Yeah, I understand that, John, that your confusion might be with me, but you're confused all the same. And it's not, what I'm saying is it's not my responsibility to clear up the confusion. But what I will tell you is what the evidence is. And then you can decide whether it's a 0 to 10 on your
Okay.
scale, if you like. Yeah.
Right.
Um, there are artworks and ancient artifacts and ancient structures, sculptures, um, scriptures, etc., that point to things being in a realm in the sky.
Okay.
And
If you go down to the children's library, you can pick up loads of books like that, can't you? In
yes, you can, but they're
children's
fictional.
children's section, there's loads of stuff.
Yeah, they're fictional, but I don't
Well,
believe,
no,
you
that's
know, that.
fictional. I mean, it could be that it could be that it's true.
Yeah, that's true. There are stories about fairies, etc., like that,
Yeah, fairies that
and
the
that,
garden and stuff like that. I mean, it's been
yeah,
going on for years, isn't it? Pixies and all sorts of stuff.
and that might be true. But are you saying that the Torah, the Quran, the Bible, um, artifacts in ancient Egypt, or Mayan artifacts, or scriptures, or all over the world, are all fiction?
That's the difference. Well, I don't think that they're pointing to life after death. If you're asking me of the artifacts to point to life after death, then yeah, I say they're fiction. They're just they're a snippet of that time, like Harry Potter is to us today. They're just storybooks. I don't think there's anything different. But
So all these cultures that were obsessed with carrying people into the afterlife, that was just all nonsense, was it?
yeah, I think that as humans, we are often search for a comfort blanket on the stuff that we don't um, understand. We'll
Understand,
try
yeah.
to rationalize it. If we don't understand it, we'll try to rationalize it, and um, then we'll put something that we can sort of lay our hat on it. It's okay. But I would imagine. I mean, if you take the religion, for example, it was a way of controlling the masses in the past. Um, but there's no evidence to support that any afterlife is evident at
Okay.
all.
All right.
It's,
Let me talk about my
story.
own personal experience then, so that and it won't be evidence on your 0 to 10 scale for you. But to me, it seems quite likely that you cannot kill energy and that things just change forms and hang about and are there's our soul, which a lot of people recognize. I mean, would you say we have a soul? Because if you don't believe we have a soul, I would completely understand why you think that the death of your physical body is the end. But if you believe you have a soul, or a higher self, or are part of something bigger, maybe, you're part of the big scheme of things, just incarnated as a independent individual human being, seemingly, for this lifetime. I would understand if you didn't believe in any of that, that you would think that death was the end.
So that's you ask, is that a question or a statement, or is it your view on
Um,
death?
well, it was both. I did ask at one point whether you think we have a soul, and I was making a statement that I would
I mean,
understand
that's
that you
me.
would
Or
believe.
I would imagine Henry says yes, yeah, we do. But
I
the
don't know.
reality, for me, if I was to answer that question, is um, well, there's no evidence to support. It's a comfort blanket. No evidence to. I mean, to sit down and I'll tell children, it's a nice bedtime story, but that's all it is.
No, it's not, John. And you know what? There is a lot of people, right, that have spiritual gifts, spiritual abilities, people that could prophesize, people that have been shown heavenly realms, people that have been to places. The reason I asked about the dreams is because I believe that's us experiencing that other realm, right? And we've all dreamed, I think. And you went straight. I think the first thing you said was something like, and I don't want to paraphrase what you're saying, but it was something like, if you think logically and truthfully,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with the truthful part, but logic and rationale, it just confines you within everything of this world. As soon as you start thinking about things like that, you can't expand your mind beyond what we already know. Because
You
logic wouldn't have allowed amazing things that are normal today to have come into the world. If people use logic, we wouldn't be on the Zoom, looking through these portals, speaking to each other.
can,
Logic doesn't bring people to technology like this. Logic
yeah,
doesn't
it
bring
does.
people
No,
to.
it does. It does exactly
No,
right.
it
You know,
doesn't, because you've got to expand the
people
mind. It
was,
doesn't seem logical when it doesn't, when it's not common knowledge. It seems insane. If we
but
took this back 2,000 years ago and showed people like this, they would be like,
that's crazy.
what
Yeah.
is this witchcraft? Like, what is going on? We'd probably be burnt on stakes, bruv.
Yeah.
So it's like that. For me, there is a lot of evidence, and I think you even experience it when you dream. Like, you didn't give me a number on the empirical evidence of that, but it's a hard thing to do, right? It doesn't. Like you
Well,
can't
I said
explain
about
fully
three,
what's
or we
going on.
agreed on three or four.
Okay. You
Yeah,
gave the phone a 10, you gave the dreaming a 3 or 4. It's
yeah.
slipping down. So there's things that you 100% believe that are much more difficult to prove, right? The empirical evidence has just gone off a cliff, but it's just as real. You've had dreams where you were dreaming all night long and it seems just as real life. And I would argue it is, you know? So with that logic now, all of a sudden empirical evidence isn't like the key indicator. If it's not a 10, it doesn't make it any less true. You know what I mean?
That's why I was trying to point to the fact that, the coffee cup and the phone, because like, when we're trying to describe or suss out what dream is, for instance, the dream state might be closer to our real reality and state as a soul entity than living in this meat suit as a human. But trying to work out what that stuff is, you're right, Henry. As soon as you go down the logic, as soon as your head always goes to empirical evidence and scientific views, you're looking in the wrong direction, as far as I'm concerned.
Right, but
You
the
know,
thing is, the people that did speculate, they thought that a land was we didn't drop off at the end of the world, or the universe didn't revolve around planet Earth. It replied, but mathematics and science, it took years and years and years and years and years, and they're still discovering things, and there are still things that they thought was right is wrong. But there's a process in which you can sort of speculate and analyze and quantify, in which to determine whether it is what we think it is or it's something different. And
it's
then,
not it's
and,
not a process.
no, no, but in all, from as far as we know, the evidence supporting life after death to this day in August 2026, there is no solid,
Not not my evidence.
there is no evidence. There is no
There's
evidence.
lots of evidence to me, bro.
Yeah,
But,
loads.
That's why I believe it. I wouldn't believe it if there was no evidence.
okay, but like, let's put it on the scale as the cup on the table has been a 10, and you holding the Mona Lisa in your hand.
No, 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 no. It does, we've got to move away from
Where's
that.
your evidence? What is it then, Henry? Where?
Before he reveals his, John, can I just urge us to move away from that? Because, for instance, if you take evidence like a near-death experience for instance, to the person that it happened to, I'm sure they would say it was a 10. I met the angels. I saw what I saw. I felt what I felt. There was, and these near-death experiences are verifiable kind of like awareness experiences
But
that
it's
people who are
what is that
clinically
though?
dead
Science.
or,
I've seen that and measured it, and the brain, the oldest part of the brain, I forget what it is now, right in the center of your brain, in your head, releases DMT, and you hallucinate. That's what happens.
and
So
you've
yes,
so you so you've decided that that is exactly what happens. What's happening, John, is that you're trying to understand the world from a dome on top of your skull, which is just a tool and a brain
no, no.
for
What I'm saying
this.
here is these near-death experiences has been measured, and they've analyzed it, and there's a
I
DM.
hear you. I
There's,
hear you, my friend.
and
But
that's
what
what
you're
it
not
is,
hearing,
right?
there's something that you're not
It's
hearing.
quantified and measured, and that's what it is. So there's the evidence to support it. But life
I
after death, there's no evidence at all, other than
okay. So
your
what?
nails continue, carry on growing, and your hair does too. And then
Can I
eventually,
make the point that I'm making about evidence before we try and pick apart the evidence? The point I'm trying to make is that you're you're looking at evidence and rationalizing and logically that's what science does. Pick through stuff from this tiny little dome brain that we have, which is only a small part of the greater mind that exists in all existence, and therefore it is a very flawed tool that is actually designed to serve us as the egotistical, separate meat bodies that we are as humans. It's a great one. It's an amazing thing. It does amazing things, but it is not the big mind that is behind all things. And
Okay.
therefore, coming from, hang on a second,
But
and
just
coming
one,
from
I asked Henry a
that
question
place.
about 10 minutes ago,
All
and he,
right, all right. But I'm just saying, you even trying to quantify a coffee cup or whatever, it's just impossible when you just live in this little brain. When you open up to stuff, other things, near-death experiences, childhood, past life memories of which I have personal experience, deathbed phenomena, which I have personal experience,
can I,
after
Henry.
death communications, which I have personal experience of. Ask Henry a
But
question.
that's fine by you, Tim. But when you go out the front door and you enter the real world, then there's and you can't share that with anybody other than it coming out your mouth, right?
I just did, and you're talking about the real world as being this real world that you see through your brain, and
Right.
that might not
Henry,
be what it
on a
is.
scale
Ask
of 1 to 10,
Henry a question.
yes, Henry, answer the question. Where does it come in? Where does it fit on your evidence scale?
A 9.
A 9.
If I had to give a number, yeah.
So the fact that you're wearing a hat is a 10, yeah? And
Yeah,
you
it seems like it's a 10.
in your hand, you
Seems like it. That's very key and important. Seems like he is wearing a hat.
let him finish, Tim. Have a drink or something. Henry, so the fact that you've got a hat on your head and that's a 10, and the Mona Lisa in your hand and that's a 0, the evidence that you've got that there's life after death comes in at 9. Is that right?
Yeah, and I would like to say it's a 10, but obviously, I'm a human. We all have doubts. We all, life's complicated. But even like having this conversation, John, it comes down to our worldview, I think. Like my worldview and your worldview, yours has been shaped over 50 years, and that leads you to all these beliefs, right? Like a few years ago, having this conversation, I would have said 10 out of 10. I would have reiterated everything you're saying, honestly. But now, since being on my walk with Jesus, like obviously there's so much that goes into that. There's like I can't break down in one conversation all the reasons why I believe in the Bible and why I believe following Jesus is the right thing to do and why that's the truth. But
No, I hear what
there's
you're
a
saying.
lot that goes into it,
I hear what you're saying. And I
right?
think that when I
Yeah.
was in my 20s, if you'd asked me, is there life after death? I would probably have said yes. Yeah. Probably I would have said,
What was that based on?
well, probably intuition, that sort of thing, really. And listening to holy people, and traveling around the world and meeting different people, different creeds, colors, races, languages, that sort of stuff. And uh, they're all got a lot of people. The humans have a lot of things in common. Is that they like to believe that that this is not the the be all and end all, and they like to think that if for a Buddhist, for example, and reincarnations, and you come back, you've got to have a good life, and da 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 da. And Christians go to heaven, and da 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 da. And I would have said, yeah, in my set, and my own belief was probably that of there's got to be more to life. But
Let me ask you a
I
question,
can't,
John. Do you think the
I can't,
only things that exist are the things that we can see, track, and measure and quantize? Like, is that all that exists?
not that you can see, because there's something you can't see the air that we breathe, can you? So, it's not as simple as that. But people have studied this phenomena or this question thousands of years, thousands, you know. Mine's far superior than mine and yours, and probably anybody else on this planet of all, but they've all we can speculate as to what might happen or where you want to go, or we can dream about it, but there's no evidence to support it in the slightest.
I
And
think there's lots.
is
In
there evidence to suggest that anything else is real, like Henry's saying? Like, where's your evidence for, you mentioned intuition, for instance. Where would you put that on your scale of 0 to 10? Do you trust it? Do you not? Is it real? Is it not?
No, a lot of the time, I've come to realize is that that is that follow the data really, because we've all got these big ideas about how things are going to pan out, but the safest way is just to follow the data, and you can be sure of the solution. I mean, it's I use it in sales and marketing, all of that, all the time. And you think this is great. It's gonna be it's gonna go great. For example, we've done, I think, 16 podcasts, and I I would have never have guessed that the one that we did last week would be second from the most popular top. Never would have guessed that at all. I would have thought it would have been completely different. If you were to guess what our most popular is, I think we would all speculate and we'd all get it wrong. And the reality is just that's where the data is, and that's what you've got to do. That's a good example of follow the data, because we've all got different ideas, but the reality is that you've got to follow the data. Otherwise, you're just guessing.
This is such carnal thinking, though, John. Like, this is very worldly stuff we're talking about right now, and we're trying to explain something that is literally once we leave this world.
Mm.
Like, do you not think there's like a bit of a issue with thinking about it like that? Because
No,
it, it's
you can
it's.
relax now. You can relax. You can just get on with your life and enjoy every single day and be
I don't think that's
possible.
what we're called to do, though. Like, my data tells me that good and evil exists. I've
Well, I feel
from
sorry.
my experience, the reliability of the Bible, for my experience,
Yeah.
is strong, right? And you clearly disagree,
Well,
but
that's
I
all
would
right
much
for you,
rather follow
Henry.
that
If you
than just say, "Oh well."
if you need a set of rules in order to feel comfortable moving forward in life, then I got no problem about that at all. I think that's
Well, no, you're the one that needs the set of rules because you've got to
no,
follow the
there are no
data
rules.
that's being interpreted through a small dome of brain on your top of
No,
your
no,
skull,
no,
which
no,
is
there are no
very
rules.
fallible and very kind of like
I've got no rules. There are
susceptible
no
to
rules.
mistakes and misunderstanding
No,
and like illusion.
no, there are no rules. You just get on with
Discipline
it.
is freedom, brother.
Make of it as best you can. It's a it's a canvas in which you've got one opportunity to draw your own picture, and you make the most of it every because there's no wiping it away. And
We
Well, I
can all
agree with
agree
that.
on that.
you want
Oh
to paint
yeah,
by numbers, then fucking you crack on. That's fine by me. And that's not to say that it's a bad way. Some paint by numbers pictures look absolutely stunning, better than that I could perhaps even make
Wow.
myself. I think that really it was really quite good. But I don't paint by numbers, and that's me.
it's an interesting way of putting it.
Well, there's a lot of numbers involved in science and data, and a lot of beliefs and a lot of kind of like dead hard and fasts. I don't think that we can work out what is beyond the earthly realm from a place of earthly being. It's just impossible. It's just that thing that is the source or creation of all things is not observable, quantifiable, or verifiable by us small. We're not small things. We're amazing creatures, but we're bigger than we think we are because we're this enormous soul entity that is giving life to this place,
Well,
and it's
I
incredible.
I made an analogy of paint by numbers, and I think that you know that's. But I'm a bit stumped as to where you might fit in painting your picture, Tim. You see, I think Henry's bang on paint by numbers, and that is him. And I think that's a great. If that's floats your boat, then you go for it, man. And
Mm.
I'm the kind of person that'll bring up. I've got a palette of paints, and I'll just do my own thing. That's it. And I've got and it's my expression of my life. Yeah, and that's it. And
That's cool.
it's I don't know, but when it
That's
comes
cool.
to, I'm trying to just sort of fathom where you might. I think that it's I don't know. Are you confused in the size of the canvas, or are you?
Yeah, I can see how that might appear like that,
I don't
my
know.
friend.
And I'm trying to sort of, uh, when I made the analogy of Henry and myself, I'm struggling to sort of fit your perspective into that because
Yeah.
it's a bit of mine and a bit of Henry's because of sort of thing really, but it's almost like schizophrenic.
Well, like you
Ah,
got a canvas here, and he's just fucking painting all over the
Well, no,
walls and
yeah,
all sorts.
it's
yeah.
paint by numbers here, and then he's got some fucking thing going over there, and then he's just doing some fucking weird stuff in the middle, and it's like,
Isn't that just mind-blowingly
yeah,
amazing?
it looks confused.
Okay, it does to you, John. It's fine. If you're
Yeah, but that's
people,
all right. That's all right. If that's how you paint,
can I can I talk can I talk to it, or am I just
I'm
going to
trying to
take
sort
the
of make what I'm trying to do is
yeah?
to it sort of bring you into the analogy, but I'm
Okay.
struggling where you might you might I might be able to verbalize it.
That's fine, brother.
That's
If
awesome.
if you just think about how you might verbalize it rather than just continue to verbalize and give me the space to
Well,
verbalize something, then that would be a beautiful thing. So, right, where you two guys differ to me is that there's a level of certainty with your belief, understanding, experience that gives you the appearance of more clarity than I appear to have. And you're right, there is a mix because for me, where I sit is a mix of human existence and spiritual existence. And those things are different and one and the same. So, therefore, there are different ways of making sense of it, looking at it, analyzing it, stuff like that. And I'm what I am is comfortable with the confusions, comfortable with the grey areas, comfortable actually ultimately not knowing, because I recognize from my earthly position that there are just some things I may not ever know. And I have been a seeker at some points of my life, but I'm not seeking the definitive answers anymore because I'm comfortable with what I know is enough to guide my life with purpose and meaning and doing the best I can. So I'm comfortable there, which is frustrating to people who might want more clarity. But that clarity is something that you end up having from a personal perspective. And that's your life and your journey to work that one out. Personally, I don't believe that seeing life and existence from a narrow perspective that is the human observation, feeling, all the senses, all the science, all the stuff, all the religion. That is such a narrow window of all that is. That's what gives me that sense of grayness. Not grey as a bad thing, not grey as a depressing thing, but grey as in appearing to sit on the fence a little bit about things because there's no hard and fast spiritual answer until we kind of like either definitely know in this human existence or we've passed and kind of gone, oh, that's what it is.
It's
so
funny
this
because it seems a little bit closer to John's view in the sense of needing empirical evidence on some level. Because and maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds to me a little bit like, oh, well, you can't prove it either way, so it could be anything. A little
well,
bit.
No,
the thing
not
is,
that, because there's a knowing inside me about a lot of things. So there's stuff that just although it's not a knowing that has the 0 to 10 evidence scale that John's looking for. It's a knowing of like, I'm pretty sure that that's the way it is. I'm pretty sure that I have been contacted, from the other side. I'm pretty sure I receive messages, guidance from the other side. I'm pretty sure I have visited different realms whilst I'm asleep or whilst I'm meditating, or, energetically, there's far more than we know. So I know that for sure.
Okay.
Complete
So
conviction.
the way I see it is that Henry's painting by numbers and he's sure of the size of the canvas. I'm just freehand. I've got a palette and just doing my own thing, and it's just going to do whatever I want. And Tim, he's painting.
Let me tell you what I am.
No, no, I'll tell you the way.
Why do you get to tell me what I
Well,
am?
you can correct me. Is that
Okay.
you get to paint a bit of paint by numbers, and then you do your freehand, and then you go off the canvas and into the sky, and you start painting in the sky a little bit. And your view is that sure there's something going to come. The canvas will get, it is out there. So I'm going to paint there anyway. I'm going to paint here as well around the canvas because I've got this feeling it's going to be there and and I'm absolutely sure about the feeling. And that's how I see it, really. If we're going to sort of, in a short, succinct paragraph,
Okay.
and we're going to
All
sort
right.
of, and that's,
Thank you.
correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Pause. So, yes, thank you, Dr. McVie. There is truth behind what you're saying, and very interesting observations. I think they're quite, it's quite a lot on the money.
I'm looking for
What I would tell you is what I am. I am the paint and the canvas.
it gets worse, doesn't it?
Oh, okay. I was quite happy with that because that makes absolute sense to me. But if that causes you confusion, brother, I'm
Well,
sorry.
I just thought that was quite bizarre that you're painting in fresh air, convinced that there was something would materialize there because you've had it, you've dreamt it, and you've visioned it. But the fact that you are the canvas and the paint at the same time, it
I think you're making a lot of this up now for my perspective, but that's okay.
well, making what up?
Telling me, how I'm living my life
No,
and how
no,
I'm
you
thinking.
said you were the paint in the canvas, not me.
That's correct. But then you started talking about painting in the sky, hoping something
Well,
will
that's what I
appear.
understood it because I thought you had, you see, I have a strong understanding that I'm standing in front of the canvas and I'm doing my own thing. And Henry, I'm absolutely sure that he is absolutely sure of what he is, and he's standing in front of the canvas and he's painting by numbers, and that's he knows where he's going, he knows what he's doing.
See, I don't
You're
even
not.
know whether that's an acceptable analogy for Henry either, painted by numbers.
Well, Henry can question that if he likes, but that this is what I'm sort of made the analogy, and I'm free to make an analogy, and
Yeah.
I'm open to the criticism. But when I was sort of gave my analogy of you, your response was, "Well, I'm not standing in front of the canvas. I am the canvas, and I am the paint." And that just took it to a complete no other level, other than just painting into the sky where there's not.
Yeah, maybe I should have said I am the paintbrush and the canvas
You are the sky
and
as
the
well.
paint.
You are the sky. You are everything.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yes.
that's just like for me. That's yeah. That's okay.
Do
That's
we
it.
live after death then, or?
Huh?
Yes, we do,
Well,
in a different form.
yeah, sort yeah. That's bizarre.
Sort of.
I don't know. I couldn't.
I ain't got, mate, fucking, I ain't got a clue what you believe anymore, mate. Honestly,
Who, Tim?
you flipped the script. No, no, you.
Me?
Did you just say, yeah? Did you just say we do now?
No, no, no. I
He
don't.
did say maybe. He did
I
say
felt.
maybe.
I can't work Tim out. That's it. That's where I'm
Right.
And
confused.
it's not for you to do that,
No,
John
no,
boy.
that's all right. But that's the way I think, And if you don't
Okay.
understand that, that's all right,
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's just that it sounds like displacement a little bit, looking
It's just the way
outside
I
of
think. Just
yourself.
like you are the sky, the painting, the canvas. That's the way you think. That's fine. And I'm just trying to sort of make an analogy with that, which is really difficult. It's just like
Well, I think that's quite
catching
clear,
air
isn't it?
with a net. It's fucking really. It's like you're going like that all the time, trying to catch air with a net. It's tricky, man. I don't
What
think.
is the making analogy thing about? Is it just you trying to understand it, or
Yeah, it's my
yeah?
try. It's saying I'm trying to process it, and I'm fairly sure, that would be a good explanation, and I can rationalize your life being painted by numbers because you follow the book, you follow
What
scripture,
you're
and
what
that's
you're not hearing is the fact that you're trying to make sense from the rational brain, which is not kind of like the one that's gonna
no, I'm making sense.
possibly not the entire
And
toolkit that will find, the knowing that you're looking for.
you see,
Let me back what you said up with scripture, right? You said that I color by numbers. It
yeah,
says in the Bible that you walk, but it's He that orders your steps. So that's where I'm at, brother.
yeah, man, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So would the analogy of painting by numbers work, or is there a better way of putting it? Not that we need to, because that's part of just our little brains trying to rationalize and logically understand something that we fully can't, obviously.
I don't know. It feels a little bit restricting somehow, whereas I feel like the any plans I could try and make, they'll never be as good as what God has planned for me. I'm way better off leaning into Him and, like I said, letting Him order my steps. I think that's the best thing anyone can do.
Yeah. And not limiting yourself to the canvas or the
Yeah.
paint or the choice of colors. And a bit of skywriting might actually be quite cool.
Why not?
That's the thing is that's quite interesting because when you were talking of that, I'm thinking, okay, but you can start by painting by numbers, but you might get inspiration by someone saying, hey, no, wait a minute, Henry, the 330 divided by 8, that's another color, that's a blend. So, let's go down that route. And so it's also mixing your colors, you know. And I'm thinking, it doesn't have to be. When you say it's limited, it's like, wow, your numbers are infinite, right? And then if you do the square root of infinite, it's just bizarre. That's beyond comprehension, you know. So I'm a bit perplexed as to why you might find numbers um, restricted because it's infinite, and I can't imagine.
Well,
And
isn't the analogy that it's a little bit more orderly to be doing it colored by numbers, as if like, instead of freehand, you're drawing within the box kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that, and maybe there is some accuracy to that, but it that's what that analogy is pointing to, right? There's other things as
Yeah,
well,
but
but
but the thing is, like I say, if blue is 365 and green is 364, what happens when you mix 364 and 365? It's a completely different number, isn't it? But so there you go. And then you don't have to go with 364, 365. It could be that in your paint by numbers, there are aspects of it that don't have a number. And so you have to
uh-huh.
use the equations, the numbers around it to fit the number into the blank space.
I feel you, brother.
You know what I'm saying? So it's infinite, and it can go.
Uh-huh.
Your canvas is magic, man, because it just grows. It's infinite. It can go bigger and bigger and bigger. So I can see where you're going with that, and for me, that's rational. That's a rational thought. Living your life like painting by numbers is that's I can see why it might float your boat because that's practical and you know and you can observe it and change things and mix things. So I think that's fabulous. But the fact that you haven't got a canvas or you are the canvas and you are the paints, that for me is a step too far to comprehend, really. And that's where Tim is. It's not to say that it's wrong or right. It's just that I struggle with that. And I don't think that if you could sit here and talk about it for the next sort of day or week or month or year. I still struggle.
Which we can't because you've got a time deadline today, John, and it's kind of a shame because this one could have run on a little bit, but I think we should wrap it up. I think that there is life after death, not as we are, but in some shape or form, and I think that it might be a little bit like waking up from a dream. But what's really apparent from this conversation for me is that it's really down to how you personally see things, what your beliefs and opinions are, and it's a personal journey to work out, how you approach that. And there, as my dearly past father used to say, there is no wrong, there is no right. There's just different. And this conversation has shown me that today.
What about you, H? What's your takeaway, Henry?
I might be wrong, but I think there's a word remembrance, and I think that's referring to when people hear the good news, which is of course the scripture, and they they come to the knowledge of what we truly are. And like Tim explained it as waking up from a dream, I can sort of see what he's saying with that because, I believe we are truly spiritual beings and this is a physical experience that we're going on. And yeah, I think that's a really nice way of framing it. Of course, I do believe there's life after death, and I think there's a lot of evidence. I wish we could have touched more on the evidence and gone into that a bit deeper, but yeah, man, I'm pretty sure that life goes on, brother.
Well, that could be
What about you, Johnny?
another topic for another day because, um, evidence, that's a big subject, really, isn't it? Really.
Yeah.
For me, I think that if I was um, on a level of 1 to 10, that there's no life after death, I will put it at a 9. Okay. And the only reason I don't give it a 10 is that I think it's nice to have a comfort blanket, and I think it's nice to sort of wonder if there is something different and evaluate it and explore and see if there's very rare. I've never given a movie 10 out of 10. The best movie ratings I've always given is a 9 because I think there's always room for more.
Yeah.
And I think that life after death is non-existent, and I give that a 9 out of 10. But that's not to say that I'm not open to any other suggestion, because I am. And if you come to me with a viewpoint that I can analyze, then I will analyze it. And it's a very good chance that if it's strong, there's strong evidence there that I might change I change my point of view. But so far, there isn't anything I've seen.
That's cool.
So there's always a window open. I'm not shutting it down, but
That's cool. I just want to put on record that my opinion of if their life after death is at 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
And
Cool, man. John, you say about the comfort, right? Like, I used to be an atheist. I never longed for any form of comfort because the way I see it, life is hard, life is testing, and at least if all goes tits up, at least I'll die. You know what I mean? I found peace in that because I was like, wow, this ain't easy being here sometimes. It's brilliant a lot of the time, and there's a lot to love about it, but I was like, do you know what? If shit does really hit the fan, and I get taken away or put in prison or whatever, at least one day I'll die. That was like peace for me. Now I take less peace in what I believe because I truly believe life is a test and I could end up in hell, bro.
yeah,
Like
I
that's much more
understand
of a
that.
weight than I'll just die in the end, lights off. So
And
there's no comfort in my
I,
beliefs for me in that sense.
listen, but the thing is, I understand that entirely. And for me, having that viewpoint is comforting. I can understand why people would choose that. And often, you know, I lie to myself and say, well, okay, you know, it's like, let's, you know, like, for example, do unto others I expect to do unto yourself. I think it's great philosophy, and it's written in the scripture. It's not just in the Christian, it's in many sort of religions. And I think, really, I think that's great, because when you do that, there's, you know,
You do.
of humans, they respond to that in a positive way. So I think it's a great thing. And there's a lot can be said about painting by numbers, right? And I've got no problem with that. Like I say, some of the finest pictures I've ever seen is being painted by numbers. I think they're great. And if that's how you want to move forward, I think that's superb. I'm not saying that my way is any better, yeah, at all, or Tim's or anything, but I appreciate that there's order in the madness that you follow, and I can see the order, but at the same time, it is madness. Anyway, that's I'm not. It's not a criticism on you, because you like the order, and I think that's fine, fair enough. Because I like order too.
Which part of it's madness?
It's fucking all madness, really. It's fucking, you know, some people might say, Christ, look at that disaster of a painting that you've made. If you'd painted by numbers, it would have looked beautiful. And I would have said, probably. And yeah, you've got a good point. So, but that's not, I'm just like a free spirit, really, from that perspective. You know, it's like, that's the way it is. And I now live and die by my own mistakes. And I think, you know, and not to say that, you know, 000 is not Y, because when you paint by numbers, 00 is Y, and I probably go with that as well. I will probably take a lot from painting by numbers and use it in my own, you know, in my own palette of life. But I'm not restricted.
Have you heard the good news, John?
What's that, man?
You haven't heard the good news?
What's the good news? We woke up today.
The good news. The good news is that we live in a fallen world, but Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, came to earth. He died and he rose again 3 days later
Yeah.
to pay the price for your sin with his own blood.
I have a story I've told my daughter since she was born. It's called Ra Ra Land. It's brilliant. I'll have to tell you about it one day.
Yeah?
Yeah, you'll love it. You go up a tree into a mystical world where everything changes. And you can
that your story might be closest to what might be true, more closer to the truth than you know.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Anyway, my daughter loved it, and it gave her a lovely feeling, and she went to sleep, and she was a happy little girl.
Cool story.
So, gentlemen,
we'll hear it one day.
Yeah. So, yeah, have a look at the ratings. Actually, the most popular one. That's a bit of an eye opener, but not that you can replicate it, because I don't think you can. But anyway.
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you're interested in what our most interesting podcast is, you can go and find it too. The Chat About Everything. Thanks for being here. Ta-ra for now.